Ok. Tu es prêt?
Yeah, je suis prêt.
Haha. Bonjour. Je suis le pine. I don't know how to say pine.
Et je suis le.
Le.
That was easier. Le.
That was.
And you are, I was going to say watching, which you could be, but listening to a cup of tea.
I was actually going to do the thing again in English.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Hi. I'm the pine. No. Yes?
Are you?
I am the pine. Is that how it starts? Hi, I'm the pine.
We haven't done this in so long that you don't remember anymore.
Of course.
And I'm the water, and you're listening to a cup of tea.
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
Or sharing a cup of tea with you.
I have a new mug.
Yeah, and we're not drinking tea. Are you having mud water?
I am having mud water. We're both having mud water. Not sponsored yet. But we are having mud water. What are your thoughts?
I like it. It's very chocolatey. It gives me like atole vibes a little bit.
If it was a little thicker, it'd be very atole.
Yeah. Has a taste at least.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I like it.
Yes, I like it too.
I will say though, it does not taste like chai. The thing says that it's like chai and chocolate had a baby, and that's supposed to be mud water. I'm like, no, I do not know, but it is really good. I feel like at first, when I first started having it, I was a little disappointed that it didn't taste like chai. But as time goes by and I keep drinking it, now I crave the very specific taste of it.
See, it's like AG1.
I guess it is, but I'm still not sold on AG1. I need to drink it more.
You know, I actually haven't ordered, I canceled my last order because I hadn't finished it.
Oh.
Yeah, I kind of like
so you just postponed it?
Yeah, the thing is, I've been trying to organize my eating schedule, kind of. Because I usually would have the AG1 in the morning, then have breakfast, and then whatever, right? But I mean, usually it'd be like AG1 and protein powder at the same time, kind of, for breakfast, and then some other thing. But because of the 4 a.m. workout thing,
your schedule's messed up.
Now I am waking up. I'm not actually waking up at 4 a.m. It's like 4:45, and then I work out at 5.
Are you still doing it with your aunt?
Yes.
Okay. Cute.
I failed to do it today and yesterday because I was not feeling well. But,
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, that's good.
I do. Max, my new roommate, long story short, was like, "Are you feeling well today? Are you better?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm alive again." So yeah, I feel like I need to kind of find the time to have breakfast kind of consistently. Because sometimes I do it at 7 and other times at 9. And I don't know. I'm not fully happy with the arrangement yet.
Okay. I mean, I get it. When it's so nice when you finally have a routine that works out.
Yeah.
Right now I'm trying to figure out when to go swimming and when to do this and when to do that and
me too, a little bit. I feel like when we go swimming at 9, then my brain is like, okay, wake up at 5, have breakfast at 7, then swim at 9, lunch, I don't know, at 12 or 1 or something. And that kind of works. But that does mean that I'm not doing intermittent fasting stuff.
Yeah.
Because if I started eating at 7 and my dinner is at 8, then that's more than 12 hours. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But I'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's a work in progress.
Yes, it is. It is. Do you know, that's one of the things that this is not the episode that we're going to talk about right now. But it's one of those things that I don't know if I mentioned in my last pocket about not when you have something that you're trying to do and you fail at it and then you give up.
Mm-hmm.
And this feels like a learning moment for those times. Like I was doing really well with the intermittent fasting thing, and now I'm not. But it doesn't feel like, oh, fuck it, I won't do it again. It's just like I'll just keep trying to find how to like fit it together. Yes.
I don't know that you said that in your pocket, though.
I don't think I did.
No.
It was maybe one of those things that I wanted to add in the after pocket.
In post-production.
Yeah. But so today's cup of tea is about
my views on relationships, apparently. Or something along the lines of that.
Which, when you ask me, like, are you ready to... What did you say? Do you have questions or something?
Yeah. If you would guide me through the conversation is what I said.
My brain was like, no, I'm not ready. Because, I started recently thinking about how whenever I'm at some kind of social setting or even in this kind of thing, or when I was in class too, whenever the teacher was like, does anybody have any questions? I never asked anything.
Yeah.
And now it feels like the same thing too, but with social. Like we were at this event we were at the other day meeting people. I wanted to like ask something.
And it's like, I don't know.
But I'm like, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like I might know what to ask.
Here. I think this is a little different. It's a conversation. It's an ongoing, one of those ongoing conversations that we've had throughout the years of our relationship. And it was prompted by us watching For All Mankind.
Yeah.
And because there's, I don't know, can we spoil it? Maybe we should.
Guess it's...
there was an affair.
Season 4 is out. If you haven't watched all the way to season 3 at least...
I feel like it's not such a popular show that people are like, no, you haven't watched it by now. Like,
Yeah, I know.
It's not like
it's very,
a Marvel movie.
Sort of secret kind of thing.
But let's just say that there's an affair. And I was...
And you were play-by-playing it to me because I had already seen it.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How dare she? Or something along those lines.
I was very appalled at the idea of the affair. Yeah. And you were like, oh, how you've changed. And I'm like I know why you're saying, like, I get it. But that's not to say that I'm pro affairs. Like, no. No. But okay, like, is there a place where you want to start?
Where do I want to start? Well, I mean, I think we should explain a little bit of what we mean with, what I meant with, how you've changed.
Okay.
So, take us back to, I want to say, circa 2018.
2018.
Yeah. And the only reason I know...
I came back in 2016.
Okay. It can be 2016. The thing is, I have like an earmark for 2018 because that's when I was in Sweden and you were voice noting something. You were sending me voice notes about this whole shit show that was happening, apparently, with your, at the time, boyfriend.
At the time?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was very merrily dancing at the studio by myself, practicing, and you kept sending me voice notes that I was listening as I practiced. So, yeah, that's why I remember. It's like a very, very clear memory in my brain, that scene.
That's so funny. Okay, so I think if we go back to like 2016, I had just come back from the preserve.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what my take... I don't know that I had a take on relationships at that time. When I got to the preserve 2 years before that, in 2014, I had a boyfriend.
Yeah, I was going to say, where is that? What's the timeline with that boyfriend? Because I did not remember.
With that boyfriend?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So with that boyfriend, we started going out when I was 17, I think. And then when I was 18, I moved to the preserve. We were still together. We were still trying to like make it work.
Yeah.
And then I spent 5 months or so at the preserve. I came back I think by the first during those 5 months, I think we broke up. Because of me.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, to be fair, that was a very toxic relationship. That was not a good time.
It was.
No. But either way, I opened my eyes. Yeah. And I was getting into this idea of sort of experiences, I guess. Because when my very young and naive 17-year-old self with this guy was into this whole like, oh, the one, you know, and it's that thing that at some point we've talked about of when you are a teenager and you're like, you have your first love or what you think is a first love. And you have all these ideas and plans and fantasies. And you're like, oh yeah, like I'm going to be with this person forever. And you have no idea what that means. You have no idea what you're talking about. It's so unrealistic. But in your mind, I guess, it just
makes total sense.
Yeah, it's so weird to explain that now that I'm in such a different place. Mm-hmm. The real versus unreal certainty, like the fantasy of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I guess. So it was with this boyfriend that there was this like, oh, he's the one, and we're gonna be together forever and whatever, and we're gonna get married and so and so. Yeah. And then so I moved to the preserve, and then I have this revelation, of how it dawned on me how proud I was that this was the only guy that I had ever been with sexually. And it kind of was weird for me to realize that the pride, like very specifically the pride in it. Like, why was I proud? And I think that was sort of along the lines of, you know, the religious background of our culture. Not that I was very religious or anything, but the culture of being a virgin and being with the one only person, and
the opposite of being a slut. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You haven't slept with 50 guys, so you are a decent woman,
a decent young lady. Exactly. Yeah. So there was that like questioning of the being pride of being with just one person, and that sort of didn't match my very adventurous spirit. And when I was at the preserve, you know, with like the tigers and everything and whatever.
Oh yeah, which this is, I don't know if this is a preserve, not the, what was it? The Tiger King? Tiger.
It's not
not that one.
It's not him.
But it was like similar.
It's another.
Similar in a way?
Yeah. It is a tiger preserve. Yeah. But it's not Tiger King. It's not Joe. I never met him. No. Anyway. So yeah, I was living with the tigers and whatever. And it was a very sort of spiritual time for me and kind of questioning a lot of things. There was this relationship thing. And during the 2 years that I was at the preserve, I didn't have a relationship with anyone, which I appreciate. However, because I was trying to understand how I felt about relationships and my sexuality, because again, I had only been with that one person, and I was questioning how I felt about that. Like more so than just, because my culture says that it's good that I've only, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then at some point during my time at the preserve, they sent me to a dolphinarium place to work there for like a few months. And during this time I was like, okay, like I'm not with him anymore. And I was just trying to explore how I felt about relationships and sex and stuff. So I started dating or I don't know if dating, but like in a very casual way, seeing people. And then that was just not so much about relationships because I didn't really like have an actual relationship with anybody there. Like I was friends with the guys that I met. And then went back to the preserve, fast forward to the next 2 years. Then I came back 2016 and I opened Tinder. But the thing here is I was not actually looking for a guy. Like I wasn't looking for a relationship when I opened Tinder. It was like, I'm just coming back from 2 years in the US and I want to meet people. So it was just like to meet people. Like I know it was like, oh, I can't like have Tinder for both guys and girls. I don't know if that's a thing now, but
I guess it is.
I don't know.
I guess it is.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm not that savvy on Tinder stuff.
I mean, I've recently used it, and I think it does let you, like, whenever you open it, it's like, are you looking for men, women, or both? So I'm guessing that's what, yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. But I was just trying to meet people. And if I happen to like someone, well, then cool, yeah. So I started going out on dates, and it was really cool. Like, it was fun. I'm not saying that all of the dates were awesome. With a few, maybe just a couple of the guys, I went on like a second date or whatever. But it was just like there was this one guy that I really liked. That we went on the date. We met and we were like vibing about books or whatever, and we both realized that we didn't like each other in an attractive way.
Yeah,
and we're like, we could just be friends. It was like, oh yeah, like that's cool. I was like, that experience made me very happy. There was a day with a guy that was very intense and that like took me out to dinner and wanted this night to be like written in the stars or whatever. And I was like, no, thank you. No. So it was a very interesting array of dates. But I was happy that I did. And then I met this one guy that would turn out to be my boyfriend at the time. And when on our very first date, we went out and we were talking about relationships and love and stuff. And I had this fear, not a fear, like the way I looked at relationships back then, which you would remember.
Yes.
Is this idea of like, oh, it's like all of my relationships are like a different precious stone. So it's oh, like with this this person would be a sapphire, and this person would be an emerald, and this person would be an opal, and this person would be something else. And it was my way of explaining to myself that I wanted to put everyone on the same level.
Yeah.
Like to look at relationships in a horizontal way and not in a hierarchy way.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I remember I don't know if it was me drawing it, like literally making a drawing on the iPad with you.
Yes.
Which then I also explained to my cousin. But you can continue. We can get back to the drawing in a second.
Yes. Like now that I look back, I understand that I was trying to explain to myself that I saw relationships on a horizontal way and not in a hierarchy. And what?
I'm just getting distracted by the hierarchy.
Hierarchy.
I don't know how you said it, but the hierarchy. Yeah.
Yes. You know what I say.
Yes, I
know. So I was explaining to him that I saw relationships in this way, and I was trying to be very clear on the fact that I thought of relationships as independent.
Oh yeah.
That was a big deal. But like for us. Yes. Not for that relationship. But anyway. That's another story. But so I thought of relationships as independent. So let's say like you and I are friends.
Yeah.
And we have a third friend. So my relationship with the third friend is independent of my relationship with you and your relationship to the third friend. Like every person has their own every couple of friends has their own bond.
Yeah.
I have thoughts, like new thoughts on that, but later on that.
Okay.
At that point, it was that was my scheme of things.
Yeah.
So I explained this to him, and that was my way of telling him that, like, I would be open to an open relationship, kind of, or something along the lines of that.
So you said that from the start?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But here's the thing. He said to me on that same date, after I gave him my whole, like, oh, this is how I see the world. He was like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know what? Like, all of my thoughts are theoretical. It's not like I've had an open relationship. And if you say that you couldn't do that, then, like, we can just have a regular relationship. Like a monogamous relationship, like all the ones that I've had before. You know, I wasn't... It wasn't something I had to have. It wasn't a deal breaker or anything. Yeah. It was just thoughts that I was having.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Like, it's fine. Let's get to know each other. Like, I like you and you like me, and it's fine. And I'm not over here like, no, like, I have this other boyfriend that you have to accept if you want it. Like, no.
Yeah.
So that was that. But he knew that I had these thoughts. And then, what do you remember about when I was in this relationship? Because I know that we had a lot of conversations. I had a lot of thoughts developed during this relationship about, like, well, relationships and commitment and things. And
well, I think that first, I think, like the being in the preserve, I don't exactly remember how the relationship dynamic was there completely. Like, I don't remember exactly how
the relationship dynamic with that boyfriend.
No. Like in the preserve.
Oh,
there was this guy who ran the preserve,
mm-hmm.
like the Tiger King guy, but not him, right? Another one. Who, if I don't know if I remember this correctly, but he had like a girlfriend.
Oh yeah,
and then he was also dating. Oh, there we go.
He has 3 wives.
So I think that shaped, like that informed.
I think it informed
your change of mind in a way.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. I mean, like at the time, I was very,
but I would say very minimal. The whole epiphany about relationships and whatever actually came from talking to someone else. So very, very minimally was it informed by their relationship. Mostly because I feel like it wasn't... I think that relationship, and I'm very out of line speaking about this, but the way it looked to me from the outside, it was more like they had to have that dynamic rather than they all wanted to have that dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So to me, it was kind of that boyfriend, the Tinder boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Was...
I thought the toxic boyfriend, but the Tinder boyfriend.
No, the toxic boyfriend. There's really not much to say about him. The Tinder boyfriend was such a weird relationship to me.
Why?
Because he was so, like, upstanding citizen. I'm ready to get married, have a house, 3 children, and a dog.
Yeah.
Which you did have the dog.
You did have the dog.
And there was a considerable disconnect in my mind between him and you, because you were like free spirit.
Yeah.
And
like, how did you guys how does that work?
So before I even thought about your whole discourse on relationships and like the interconnections and whatever, that was my first thing of like noticing how weird it was. And so I was I feel like during that entire time, I was just kind of waiting for it to implode in a way.
It took a while to implode.
Yeah, it did. So that fateful day when you were, which I'm guessing it was a night for you, and it was like the middle of the day for me.
Maybe.
So listening to you talk and tell me all these things, because you were saying something like those voice notes probably exist somewhere in WhatsApp still, but you were saying that he was not understanding of what you were saying, and that you didn't know how you felt anymore about him. And there was this other guy that you met at the same time, kind of.
Well, not at the same time that I met him.
No, like after.
After, yeah.
And there was that trip that you took to Puebla, I want to say, or something.
Okay,
I'm not sure. Were you... I don't know if you did ayahuasca.
I wish.
Or something.
No. It was just an acid trip.
Oh. Well. Well, it was your acid trip, and then I'm going to spoil that story, having kissed the other guy that you met.
Yeah.
And then you told the Tinder boyfriend, and he freaked the fuck out.
Not while he was on acid.
Well, no, afterwards.
Yes.
Right?
While he was on acid, he was very understanding, actually. And I was like, oh my God, like, you get it. You understand. And he was like, yeah. And then he didn't understand. Exactly.
And I kind of saw that from afar, and I was like, that kind of makes sense, though. You know how those events developed.
Okay.
It makes sense because he was such an odd dog. The Tinder guy.
Yeah.
Tinder boyfriend was such an odd dog that he had, like, something had to give. Because you were also in that moment when you were telling me that, oh, I feel so wifey, and like, picking curtains and getting the house and being housewifey and whatever. That was so I feel like you were very against the idea of being with him and kind of with anybody else. And here's the important bit, I think. You were asking me, you had this assignment or something.
Oh,
And you were asking me, what does commitment mean to you?
Yeah, I think I was going to therapy. And that was by my therapist. Like, I needed to define.
I thought it was a homework thing, actually.
It might have been. Like, I mean, studying psychology, I don't know. But it might have been actually from my therapist.
So I was so dumbfounded by how I spent the day explaining it. Like, we were texting back and forth, and I was like, how do you not understand what being committed to somebody is? Or,
well, here's my thing. Because, like, my thought was, like, we're ever-changing beings. What if you changed your mind? Like, do you just stay with someone if you don't want to stay with them anymore? Like, is that what it means?
I think, I was trying to, like, explain it, and I was thinking about it so much throughout that, I don't know, day or 2 days or whatever. And I kept trying to say, yeah, that's what it means. Like, it's like you saw this thing or these, like, series of things in one person that made you think, oh, this is a very worthy human being to spend a lot of time with for the rest of life or whatever. And so making the commitment does mean that no matter what happens, you're going to stick it through because of the good things that you saw in that person. And because of the value that you can give to them and they can give to you and that kind of thing, right? You're like, but I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. You change. What if you change your mind?
Yeah.
And what... the whole point. That is the whole point.
No, I know.
But, now I think your mind has completely changed on that.
Well, like now I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get commitment, but there's still the thing. I think it's a valid point of, like, how can you commit to someone and with this wonder, like, what if you change your mind? What if you change your feeling? And the thing is, I think if I look back again at my previous relationships, even since like middle high school and stuff like that, which is I don't know how much I want to count those as actual relationships, but it's like the beginning of or the trials of relationships. I don't know. But even in those, I feel like my teenagers informed me that I always changed my mind. Mm-hmm. Like whenever I had a boyfriend, I would stop. This is how my experience was. There's a lot that goes into it, but the way that my little brain thought of it back then, it's like, oh, like they're my boyfriend or whatever, and in a few months, I just, for no reason, I stop having feelings for them. Mm-hmm. Like I just stop. I just don't feel anything for them anymore. And that was what my previous experiences were. Mm. So I was like, how can I say that I will commit to someone? What if this happens again? Mm. Like I could not understand because it meant to me, what you were trying to explain meant that I would have to stay in a relationship that I didn't want to stay in anymore. Mm. And that was such a strong, like, oh, you would be going against your feelings and your desires and your needs and what, like, you would be going against yourself just because you said so. Mm. That didn't make sense to me. Mm. That would be a committed relationship, Yeah,
okay, I see it. I see that now.
Yeah. So the whole, that relationship was very interesting. Not in a bad way, like I don't have harsh feelings for him at all. Mm-hmm. Or anything.
Yeah.
But I do think that what happened is that we were in very different places in our lives. Like he was like 5 years older than me to start with. I was in college. He was already a working man. And he was so ready to get married.
Yeah.
And everything. He was so ready. He could not wait. Mm-hmm. And like he wanted me to move in with him right away. Like that took a few months to like wrap my head around it. And I did end up moving in with him. That was a whole shock to my mom. And yeah, I think it was very hard for me to be put into this role of, like I said, that back then it was like very wifey, very like taking charge of the house and just, I don't know, his expectation of me, or I felt like he had his whole life just laid out in front of him. Mm-hmm. And I didn't.
Yeah.
I think it was too much for me. And like I think also I was beginning to learn a lot and research a lot about polyamory. Mm-hmm. And that was very important to me because polyamory was the label that I found for what I was already feeling. Mm. And like that's the thing. I know that I never was, and I've never been, and I will probably never will be in a polyamorous relationship, as in a relationship with more than two people. But everything that I was reading as to what polyamory was and what it stood for, because again, I was coming from that like very toxic relationship where it was like, oh, the one person, and like it's so awesome that he's the only one that I've ever been with. Mm-hmm. And he was possessive and jealous and stuff, and a lot of those things were the embodiment of what my culture said was romantic love. Mm-hmm. So I was detaching myself from what romantic love was. I was criticizing it. I was questioning it. I was like, I don't want this, like, oh, I'm half a thing and you are half a thing and we'll be a thing together. So all of that just didn't, I didn't want it. It didn't make sense to me. It was not lovely. It was not good. And then polyamory, I was looking at, I found the label. Like I already had the feelings when I had this theory of the independent relationships and the precious stones and the whatever. It all matched. It all made sense. It all fit into that label of polyamory. I was like, oh my God, like other people feel this way. I'm like, I'm not, because whenever I talked about it, about the independent relationship and the whatever, like I felt like I was the one that didn't make sense. And I was the crazy one. And I was the one like making up shit. And when I found polyamory, I was like, it's not just me. Like other people feel this way. And it's called this. And this is how people practice it. And I was like, oh my God. So I was going through a lot of identity stuff while in this monogamous relationship with that guy. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sorry he had to go through that. But instead of going through that with me and letting me sort of explore it in some way, like he was just so against it. He like, no, you know, and me being me and with the whole, like I can be very against authority. And when someone tells me no, I can be very like, haha, well, I don't think so. And just, you know, in honesty policy, it's like, because I have this in my psycho-emotional story that I tell myself or whatever, I see myself or it's written in my story, you know, that I was very alone and just misunderstood. Being misunderstood is like a big trauma for me. So when I was going through all of these things and he couldn't get it, like he didn't have space for me to go through this, it completely like broke something. And when we were on the acid trip and whatever, I was explaining to him, it's like there's 7 parts to me. I have no idea why I said 7, but I was like, it's like there's 7 parts of me and you only want 6. And this 7 part, it's not just that you don't want it, it's that it goes against who you are. You completely you want me to get rid of it. You don't even want to see it. You don't want it to exist in me. And I don't know how I can be in a relationship with you when that's the case, you know? And again, during the acid trip, he was like, oh my God. And I felt so like warm inside that he got it. For those few hours, he got it. And then the next morning, just like, never mind. So that was very hard for me. But yeah, I don't know where I was, but you could say something.
Well, you know, I think it's kind of I was gonna say there's an interesting thing there to me that I feel like I hadn't thought about before.
Oh.
Because you when you asked me about the commitment and whenever we talked about your independent relationship model and my non-independent one, I always felt very like I knew what you were saying, but it didn't make sense. So I was kind of discounting it. And I would be like, no, I'm right. You have to, this is what makes sense. You're being crazy.
Yeah. I'm aware.
Which I was, there was this kind of funny thing happening. Like I was trying to understand what you were saying, but it really did not make any sense to me at all. You know, I couldn't, like okay, so we can go to the drawing now, right? Because you said, oh, the independent relationships, like I have a relationship with this person and with this person and with this other person, and they have nothing to do with each other. It's like just separate things.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, that makes no sense at all. Because, yeah, you have a relationship with person A and one with person B, but they also have a relationship. And so there's like a dynamic there that what you do with person A could affect person B. Could, not necessarily will, but it could have an impact on that person. And the way I saw it, it was not with stones. I was like, in my mind, it kind of looks like a safe, like a safe.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like very harshly built.
Uh-huh.
Which is funny. So just a funny thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like you are here and you're surrounded by these like thick walls that you can see person A. Like you can open the door and see person A, and then you close the door and then you open it to person B and you can see it. But there's like literal walls between them. So like each person has their cubicle for the relationship that they're in with you. And they're all in the same level, right? Because they're horizontal relationships.
This is how you saw my thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And then when I explained my theory to you, I was like, no, it's like a cake. So you can say that you are at the top. And then the closest people to you are on like the second layer. But it's an open thing. Like they can talk to each other and they can move around and whatever. But they're like on that same level because they are the closest to you. Mm-hmm. And then the level goes down and then you have your friends,
like close friends and
family,
friends and acquaintances.
Yeah. Right? And people can hop places because somebody that was very important to you could stop being important and like trade and whatever.
Yeah.
But the important part was that it was open. Everybody could see each other. Everybody can talk to each other. There's no there's a hierarchy to relationships. Because some people are naturally more important to you than others.
Yeah.
But
I think that makes more sense as a diagram for levels of intimacy.
Well, I guess to me it's like both in one.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it is. Like to me, it was just a matter of. I guess what has changed is that my model is very ideal.
Yeah.
You know, it's very compartmentalized.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that was missing back then.
See, that's why safe makes perfect sense. Haha.
I still know. But the thing is, in theory, yes, like each relationship, I don't know if I still think of it this way, but like, let's just say, just in explaining the model, each relationship should be independent of the other relationships. Like you and I and our relationship is its own thing.
Yeah. And
what happens with you and a third person, it's your thing and it has nothing to do with me.
I mean, I agree that there's some, I don't know if truth. Like there is, that does happen.
Yeah.
If you have like, I don't know, good relationships where you don't base what you think of other people like in gossip or something like.
Yeah.
You don't let others influence your relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's why it's ideal, because then it's the thing that I'm more aware of now. It's the whole, like, oh, we don't behave ideally. And we're all, we all have, you know, our issues and our strengths and our weaknesses and our whatevers. And even if ideally relationships are independent, like you said, they can still influence the relationships around them. So I think maybe when we were talking to your aunt about the pool table and how one decision will impact the other balls, I was like, okay, I see that. Even though, you know, ideally, you know, because we were talking about a divorce. Let's say that it's just a relationship between two balls, but because of the way that impact is going to go against like these two, like the reaction between the two balls because of the impact of the divorce or whatever event, they'll behave in a way that it will impact the people around them. So like, again, if we're talking about a relationship, an independent relationship that's just you and me, and let's say that I do something to you that hurts you, and then
not based on real experiences
at all, but let's say that hurts you, and then in your hurt, you act in a way that impacts people around you. Well, then it's kind of all connected. So like that's what I added, like maybe it's not, maybe I saw it as a very like, I don't see it as walls around me, but I saw it as an unmovable string between the two things, between the two people. Like the bond, it was a one thread kind of thing. And now it's more like it moved like a spider web almost, kind of. Like if you move one, then the other ones kind of like also resonate with it. Kind of like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I still think there's some good to the idea of independent relationships. I do think that it can be more of a moral compass kind of way.
Yeah, I think so. Because it's like the thing of not letting other people influence you.
Yeah.
Or badmouth. Basically, don't let other people badmouth another person that you have a relationship with.
It's not just gossip, like because it's like, what happens when, let's say that there's 3 people and something happens between the 2 of them, the third person who might be friends with both, not that they side with one of them, but maybe one of them, like let's say there's person A and person B, something happens between them. Person C is friends with both, but let's say that they behave in a way that person A agrees with and person B disagrees with. I think if the person that disagrees, so like person B, can take to heart something that they don't need to take to heart, like, because it's not about them. Like I think that's where it can be helpful and like moral compassy and whatever. It just kind of allowing persons and relationships to have limits and be like this is not about you. Like you might have opinions and feelings about it. You might even feel hurt about it, but it's not about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know exactly where we went in this particular section of the topic, but interesting development.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, it's not... It makes sense to me that you've changed how you see it now. Less strict.
Yeah.
Because I think you're very narrow-minded.
I think of it as a less ideal, like more pragmatic, more this is like people.
How it really acts. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think back then it was a very like platonic ideal of like, oh, it should be this way. So then if you guys do not withhold those standards of how it should be, it's not my fault. But I think now I'm more like pragmatic about it. Like, I mean, sure, if let's say that is the ideal, which I'm not saying it is, but in theory, let's say that is the ideal. Like, it's not very useful to take that as reality because it's not reality. It's the ideal. So I just feel like now I see relationships as more fluid and like I again, the spiderweb resonance thing is kind of the way I look at it now, and it's still horizontal, and it maybe to the cakes thing. I don't see it as levels of the cakes, but in the spiderweb, there's the closer threads and then the very far away threads. So that's kind of where it's at. And I do feel, right, because like all of this, again, comes from the affair and the thing and watching For All Mankind and stuff.
Yes.
And
I've been trying to get back
to it? Okay. I think, so when we were watching it, so it's the couple, and I guess they're going through
a difficult moment.
Yeah, I think they're going, but I think they were having a harder time earlier in their relationship.
Yeah.
I think when the affair happens, they're not really going through something.
Yeah.
As a couple. Which was very interesting to me.
I liked it. I kind of like that part of it.
Yeah. That it wasn't about them and their relationship. Yeah. You know, like you said, what you said to me was that she did it for her, and I agree. I think in that, you know, it's the being into the show and stuff, and just like, oh, how could you? Because we like him so much. Yeah. We're just like, no, but it's gonna break his heart. Yeah. But if I want to like really look at it the way like about relationships and stuff, I think where I have changed is I would have ideally, again, I would have preferred it, or I would be okay with it if they had a relationship such that she could have done that and told him, and he could have listened to it as a, why did you need to do that? Like, why? Like, what was your journey? Like, what? Like, look at her experience. Like, why? You know? Yeah. And accompany her through that experience without making it about him. Like, oh, this hurts me so much. Like, how could you? Or trust, or whatever. Or like, you know? Yeah. Which I don't think they have, and I think most couples wouldn't look at it that way. But that's the way I would like it to be looked at, you know? Yeah.
And you know, that's something that...
Or, hold on. Okay. Or, like, that's one, which I think would be the ideal. Or that they have a relationship such that there's some sort of either spoken or unspoken agreement that they can have those experiences. And maybe they don't want to know about it, so they don't say it, but it's agreed somehow. Because I guess, again, with the whole polyamory and everything, it's like, when I kind of fell in love with the whole idea of polyamory and stuff, it was like, oh, it's because it stands for communication and honesty and all these things that were like, oh my God, like, yes, that's what I want for my relationship, not this romanticism and jealousy and whatever and stuff. So there were all these values that I valued. I was like, that's what I want out of our relationship. So I think what I don't like, the appalling part of the affair to me now is the secrecy, the lack of understanding and communication, and like, that's what I don't like about the affair. It's not the affair. It's not that was her experience. It's like either have such a relationship, such an open relationship between the two of you that you can talk about that stuff without making it about the affair, or just being consent that might happen in your relationship and you don't want to know about it. Yeah. Which I feel like some relationships might be more on that side. Yeah. Which is not where I want to be, but yeah.
Yeah. No. It's just making me think, because at the same time that this is not about me, but it does remind me of so many not just conversations that we've had, but conversations that I've had with other friends of mine, especially about the like open relationship polyamory thing, and whether you want to know or not. And theoretical position on this was
I wonder
that I was fine with that I was fine with a polyamorous relationship. If I didn't know,
then that's not a polyamorous relationship.
The thing is, no, like, yeah. Well, okay, maybe not the way that you saw it, but in the way that I saw it, or the way I understood it, you could have like a...
You mean like an open relationship?
I guess.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
But isn't there like polyamory intertwined with the open relationship concept anyway?
Well, like, it really depends on how you define polyamory. There's a book that I really like where the author says something like, if you show me a relationship between two people that has these values and these characteristics, I'll tell you that it's a polyamorous relationship. Which is what I like, but I also understand the whole, like, well, polyamorous would mean that it's more than two people. So it's like, in order for it to be a polyamorous relationship, it would have to involve more than two people who are all who all consent to the dynamics of that specific relationship.
Yeah. Well, see, that's where it is. It's like that, but I guess, I don't know, like blind consent. I don't know. But I wouldn't have. I was on that side of, I don't want to know.
But you can.
But you can. But it ended up being worse, at least for me.
How do you mean?
Not knowing.
Okay.
Then I was like,
but like not knowing because you had the suspicion that something happened, and it was like, oh my god, but I don't know, or just not knowing and wondering if, or like,
I think both. And also, it's not just knowing if, but also wondering, like, what the relationship means to everybody. Like, what I mean to this person and this other person, and what they mean to me. Like, not that I don't know what they mean to me, but like, where do I stand in this place? You know?
Oh, the where
there's
you stand
a lot of
is
uncertainty there. So
tough one.
Yeah. So I understand, like, as much as when we were watching the show and I was like, oh, how you've changed and whatever. Because I do now, I think my position on this now is more like, not that I don't care, but it's not an unforgivable thing to me if somebody cheats on me. But I think it's that what's commonly known, or what people say, it's like you cheated, like you spiritually cheated on me or something. Or I've heard I don't know if it's exactly that, but they mean that if you cheat just sexually, like you just had sex with some random person once, then that's fine, because it's not about the relationship. It's like, I don't know, you were horny this one random day, this person crossed your path, and you were like, I want to bang them. That happened.
Okay.
And the other option is the, like,
if they develop feelings for someone.
Yeah. And then the intimacy that you have with this other person is sort of replaced by the new affair, I want to say. So, in the For All Mankind scenario, to me, it feels like she just banged this guy one time and it didn't really mean anything.
It's not like she wanted to have a new boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly. So, not that it's necessarily easy. Like, theoretically, it'd be like, oh yeah, it's fine. But in practice, I know that, because of that uncertainty with the open relationship or whatever, I think it would still mean that there's a little bit of insecurity, or there could be a little bit of, but why did you do it? Is it about me? Which it might not.
It might not, but it also might.
But yeah.
But do you still think that you prefer to not know?
No. Okay. Now I do want to know.
Do you think you could take it? Could you actually listen to that conversation where they explain?
Yeah. I would rather have that than keep wondering forever and be like, but why? You know?
Yeah.
The fucking uncertainty. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so into like, let's have that conversation camp. It's like,
I think it's hard, but if you are saying, going back to the commitment thing, that you're committing to being with this person forever and ever. I think it's the kind of thing that starts chipping away at the relationship. You know, because you have this person that did something that they would know was not good. Like, it was not right. It was a kind of betrayal, something that goes against the relationship, you know? Or maybe they don't. Like, maybe they don't care. But there's, like, a secret now.
There's a secret because you chose to not know.
Well, yeah. But that's what, I mean, at least for me. Again, the uncertainty would be terrible.
Right.
So, unless I had no idea at all that...
But wouldn't you always be, like, wondering?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, see? Team communication and honesty and stuff. But it's one thing to say it, and not that it's another thing to go through it, but I do think...
I mean, yeah, I do think it's a whole different thing to actually go through it.
I think it would be difficult, but I think if those are your values, if that is what you have chosen, if you are team have that conversation, like, as hard as it might be, I still think that that's the thing to do, like, have that conversation. And I think, again, if we want to take it back to the commitment thing, the reason why I was having such a hard time understanding commitment from the point of view of the relationship that I was in, where I felt like it was not, I was honestly not in a good place, but in a way that I couldn't really tell, because everything seemed well. Like, the relationship was going well. We were, like, moving forward or wherever. We were living together. Like, there was nothing that looked bad about it. So it was very hard for me to understand that there was something wrong with it.
That's so funny.
Why?
Because it sounds like, oh yeah, I had a great relationship on paper.
Yeah.
But at least because I knew that it was so weird, right? To me, it was like, it totally makes sense to me that you're jumping ship. And both in retrospect and at the time, I would have been like, you're not happy. You're like,
this is not your
thing.
Yeah.
It's totally fine that it's not working out, because it's, what the fuck are you doing with this guy who...
Well, you should have told me that back then.
But, you know, I mean, independent relationships and all, I've never liked to be the kind of friend that is like, oh, dump him. Unless I have a friend that's being really stupid.
And then it's like,
dude, wake the fuck up. But if it's like okay, because I've done it, and it always backfires. It's always like, oh, shut up, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's my relationship. Get the fuck out of here, you know?
Well, I mean, I don't know that would have been my...
No, but I do think, like, you had to go through it.
Yeah.
I could not have told you to just dump him and happily...
Not that you would have told me, you know, to like dump him, but maybe to understand that from outside, or someone that knew me could see that it wasn't all nice, you know? Like, maybe that perspective would have helped me. But like I said, like, everything seemed okay. Everything seemed good.
That's such a fine, like, thread, though.
Well, the thing is that it was a very subtle experience of what was wrong. It was not palpable in a way. It's like he didn't hit me, like we didn't yell at each other. Like there was nothing like that. It was just that, he wanted to get married and I didn't. So, and he had, and again, I was going through an identity crisis. I was exploring like the values that I stood for and what relationship I wanted in life and who I was. And it was so much for me. And the fact that he just didn't have that space because he wanted me to be this. Nothing bad with it, he found someone that was that for him, he got married and everything and he seems very happy. But that wasn't me.
Yeah.
So I think that's what was very difficult. And in this whole exploration, with this other guy that I kissed, it was, again, I didn't want him to be, I was not looking for a replacement for him. And something that was very interesting to me is that, and I tried explaining this to him, which I probably did a really bad job about it. But when I spent time with this other guy, I really appreciated this guy. And I just mean like talking, like nothing else, just like talking with this guy. And we would like discuss things that were very interesting to me. And we were both in college and everything. And when I was done in school or whatever, and I would go back home with him, I was very happy to see him. And it was weird to explain. It was a weird experience for me because it was like I appreciated the differences between them, and it made each of them the more special. And it made me the happier to spend time with each of them. And to me, that was amazing. I was like, what is this? Because, it's like, if I had asked someone else or if I had asked him or anything, it'd be like, oh, but don't you feel guilty or whatever or something. And I didn't. I was having a good experience from it. I was, it made me happier to come home to him and play the wife or something along the lines of that. I don't know. But it was just very like mesmerizing to me. The whole like, I appreciate you in such a different, like I see you more because you're different than him. It was so interesting to me. And that's one of the things that he couldn't understand. And even after we broke up and everything, because we realized, we tried going to therapy. We tried, there was a moment where I think it got through him that was like, if you don't allow me to do something with this, I can't be with you. And I think he wanted to try. So he's like, I really can't stand the idea of you with him. Like, I can't stand the idea of you holding his hand. I was like, okay, like you're trying to meet me in the middle. I will try to meet you in the middle. We'll see. And we went to therapy and we explained each of us our side of things. And the therapist, I don't know what to think of her, but she was just like, I see what you're both saying. And I'm afraid that there is no solution for you. You're either you give in and make them happy, or you give in and make them happy. But you will be unhappy if you're the one giving in. I'm like, really? That is how you're going to manage this as our therapist? Which I don't know if it was really good. At the end of the day, just like be very realistic about
that's
core differences, or just not really doing the work of okay, let's explore this, how can we do that, or whatever, or something. It was just like, it's not gonna work, you guys.
It sounds like option A to me.
To you it sounds the like, oh, she was so good at seeing the core differences and why this relationship wouldn't work. Maybe I'm not opposed to that being what happened.
Yeah.
But there was that one instance of let's try, and it didn't work out.
Pan out.
No, not at all. But like I think I was gonna say, after we broke up, we hung out a little bit because in my mind, this was a person that in my web of intimacy, in my circles of intimacy, he was very close to me. He was my boyfriend at the time, and we had a bond. And to me, the fact that I was going through all of these things and he was going through his own things, and we couldn't have that like romantic relationship, didn't mean that I didn't appreciate him in my life or whatever, or that this bond suddenly disappeared. So I was like, oh, let's be friends. And he pretended to be my friend. And we continued to like hang out and be friends and whatever. And then at some point he came and he was like, you know what? I've just been pretending this whole time. I thought you would come to your senses and you would come back to me, but I actually don't want to be your friend. And I was like, that hurt me so much that he was just like pretending. He thought that I was going through a phase and I was going to run back to him. I was like, see, like you actually never understood what I was going through.
See, option A.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah.
Yeah. Any more closing remarks?
Well, I think I've come a long way.
Yeah.
I think what I hold as my values are very similar. I think I've just been able to understand them better.
Yeah.
And I think the relationship that I am in now, like I'm very happy with. I understand commitment. Like I don't think, one of the things that I realized is that it's not that I stopped having feelings for these guys just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I thought that.
Thankfully, I was going to say.
I know. I don't know if they gaslighted me in some way, but I realized that it was always out of something, right? Of course, it was out of something, and it was, I'm not saying it was their fault, it's a relationship of two, but we were also in like middle school, so come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, even relationships after that, just there was always a reason why I wanted out, and even the Tinder relationship, it's like we had different values. We wanted different things out of a relationship, and that's why it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think in my relationship now, those values of honesty and communication and openness within each other, I think we've both taken them very seriously. And I think we value those over other stuff. And for one, I'm not afraid that one day I'm not going to have these feelings. And I think we do a really good job at having space for each other's stuff. Because what we've said to each other is like, before we're a couple, we're actually each other's friends. And we're each other's best friends. So what we want and what we expect from each other, I think, is the space to go through stuff, because we're going through life and life is hard.
Yeah.
and we're going to have crises and we're going to like go through things and we're going to feel lost and stuff, and just having the space and openness to understand that this person in front of you is going through life and they're finding out who they are and they're like going like so much stuff, and I just want to accompany you through life and you'll accompany me through my life. And I think that model of relationship is really working out for us. I want to say.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I guess our rec for today is For All Mankind.
Yeah, that should be. Well, do you have any closing thoughts on like the revelations that I brought to you today?
Well, I mean, I was mockingly saying that thing of like, oh, how you've changed. Because I know you've changed.
But I think in a way that makes sense. Like I don't feel like it's like, oh, I went through a phase and now I'm different.
No,
you know
it's more like I feel like you had all these ideas and you've applied them in a practical way. Like you said. For like now it's not just like a tantrum. Sort of. Because that's how I saw it for
I know
time.
You did.
Like,
I know you did.
You know?
But it was all of these. It was all of the identity crisis and all of the ideas and the values that could start sort of taking form, you know, and it needed time to process. It needed time to like become what it is today.
And I also, there's this thing I've noticed over the last couple of years, I want to say, where you talk a lot more about, I think you're more aware, or you are more accepting of how you are because of stuff from when you were a kid than before. Like before you wouldn't say anything about, I'm like this because this is how I grew up or whatever, you know?
That was very close.
Yeah.
Like, I'll deal with my shit and you will never know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm way more open now.
So that also means that I can understand your shit show a lot better.
Yeah.
Because now I know, that's why she was so fucked up before.
Yeah.
You know?
That was a little shit show you and I had. When you couldn't understand me. And I was like, you don't understand me. And you're like, well, yeah, because you don't tell me shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. And so it's like the when you were saying this thing at the beginning of how you didn't know how could you commit to someone when you're like, guys, you stop liking them 2 months before. I was like, of course. It's called being 15. You know, it's really funny and obvious to me, but and I wonder what it would have been like if you'd known that, like if you had been aware, because I feel like it was one of those things that I don't think you ever said that to me at the time. Like, I don't know that I can be committed to somebody because I've only liked guys for a short period of time.
I don't know that I was that was in my radar.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was very aware of that with my own shit.
How do you mean?
Like I had always sort of imagined, I will have this like Prince Charming type of guy that I'm gonna fall in love with and I'll be with him forever for a time. But at the same time, I changed how I saw relationships because of my mom. So I know that none of them would be a forever kind of relationship.
True.
And I'd always been very aware of how, I would like this guy. And then 6 months later, I would stop liking them and started liking somebody else. And I didn't really care about it. I just thought, that's how it goes. And it's fine if it dies.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think it would have been interesting at the time to have that conversation.
Yeah, it would have. Well, it's not like, in that time, I thought the perception I had is that there was something wrong with me because it's not that I liked a guy and then I stopped liking him. It's that I was in a relationship with a guy and one day I just didn't have feelings for them anymore. And so I would come up to them and be like, I just don't have any feelings for you anymore. I had them yesterday, but I don't today. So I think we're going to break up. And like, that's why I think I was perceived as a bitch a little bit. Because I did that to guys. I did that to my boyfriends. And they were, of course, very brokenhearted and like they threw tantrums in the middle of the school and people thought that I was the bad guy. So like I thought that there was something wrong with me. And again, now that I look back, it's like, oh, well, those relationships were very like, they were very possessive of me. They were very jealous. They had all of these things that, of course, were going to make me fall out of love with them. But I didn't see that back then. So now I get it. So that's what was happening.
Funny.
Mm-hmm. Funny, haha.
Yeah. And on that note, we will see you at the next cup of tea.
Bye.
Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us. Send us your comments using the hashtag acotcast. And remember to subscribe to get fresh episodes every week.